and today's topic is Email Faster and Smarter from Pipeline. So we'll talk about the different ways to streamline that email process and just really be more efficient in sending your messages. I'm going to cover a bunch of features and options today, so I'm not going to go too deep into any of them. All that information is on our help site. You can find it there as well. Okay, so let's hop on over to Pipeline as usual and over to our I'm going to do this from the transactions page, email from the transactions page. Now you can also email from the reference page, obviously. And when you do so, typically these are where all of your company's forms and disclosures are stored, if they do store them here. And typically you can either download them or email them to yourself if you want to do it easily that way. Get them executed and then upload them back to the transaction. So you can definitely email from here. We're going to pretty much stay in the email area from transactions because it has all of the features that you would do from the emailing reference docs and more. Right, so since it's got more of the features there, we're just going to stick there since it'll teach you everything you need to know. Okay, so let's hop into a transaction here. Let's go into this one. All right, and so just really quickly, I want to go over how to email. Very similar to your regular email program, you are specifying a contact, giving it a subject, giving it a message, and then attach any docs that you may need to add, and then go ahead and send it. Now, one thing I want to mention before I show that really quickly is that this section here that you expand to send your email, the note/email section, is both for sending an email and adding a note to the transaction. So you can do either one. The way you differentiate is by whether you've got a recipient specified. So if you select someone internally here by clicking their name or enter an external contact's email address here, which you can easily do by dragging them if you've got them as a contact on the transaction, right? Or typing their email address, right? You can also drag outside contacts, outside agents, etc. to make that easy. Okay, so again, if you specify an external recipient or an internal recipient, this would be an email that gets sent, right? Send email. If you don't specify a recipient, then this is a note that gets added to the transaction down below. Okay, so that's convenient when you want to just add a note or document something for the transaction, but not send it to anyone. Alrighty, okay, so just wanted to mention that. And again, to craft a message, I would specify my recipient or recipients, enter a subject, perhaps. And then again, I can attach docs if I need to, and then send that message. So that's straightforward. Now, how do I make that process more efficient? Several different ways, and it's mostly given the features that are listed throughout here. We're going to start with these down here just because they are easy, super easy. Okay, so let's say let's say this were I wanted to send a message to an agent to complete their incomplete tasks, right? Okay, so so if I generate this message, I've got the option down here of saying append incomplete tasks if I wanted to. Right? Or there may be an occasion where I need to append completed tasks or maybe overdue tasks. Right? So I've got those options to make that super easy. And what those will do is attach a list of incomplete or complete or overdue tasks to the end of that message. All right? Likewise, if I don't want a full list of those tasks to be attached, and I only wanted certain ones, I can actually drag those one at a time. Any incomplete tasks I can drag over to the message area, and it will nicely format those. Notice when it's got any attributes associated with it, namely any due dates or visibility, it'll actually drag that on down as well, including the rule you see there, 10 business days for that relative due date there. Okay? So super convenient instead of typing to do that dragging here. And let me go ahead and make this a little larger, which you can do whenever you see these little diagonal lines in the corner, just for ease of entry. So I can drag those tasks there. I can also, just like I dragged contacts to the external email address area, I can also drag them down to the message area if I want to share their contact information, right? So see how it shared that and nicely formatted that. So if I wanted to share this contact, I drag them down, and that's convenient. Maybe I want to share an inspector with the buyer, right? I can do that. So those are these three options over there. That's where we started there. I can also make this note private. So if I only wanted myself and admins and whoever the recipient is to see this message down below when it's saved down below here, I could check that option. So instant privacy there. And then the last option here is to save this message as a reusable template. So if I wanted to save this as a reusable template, I would check this option. I can then give it a name. And when I name that and then send that message, now, next time I go to send a message, it will be listed in my list here of templates and instantly populate those fields with that message. This is a super short message, but obviously those can be really long. Let's take a look at another one here that already exists. Maybe my, there's my incomplete tasks, right? A much more appropriate one. Right, so basic message there. I can also create reusable templates for my personal profile page, which I get to by clicking my name in the upper right corner and then personal profile. And I'm going to open this in a separate tab here so I don't mess up my current page. And here I've got a link on the left that says email templates, and I can add new templates here if I don't want to do it directly on the transaction and send it, right? So I can just create templates here, and then from my transactions page, I can use them whenever I need to. Okay, so that's kind of the lowest level of message templates that I can use. Then I can get super advanced and time-saving by using message tags in my templates, right? And message tags basically put placeholders inside of the messages that'll be filled with the information from the transaction whenever you use them. For example, if I wanted to, let's say, add a greeting here, because this is always going to the listing agent, and I said, hi, listing agent name, and I don't want to put it because it's going to vary for each transaction, I can put a message tag there. So maybe I say listing agent first name, right? That way, it'll insert the listing agent's first name there and be very custom whenever I use this template. Let's take a look at a couple slightly more elaborate ones. Let's do this one. So you see here, this message says, hello buyer name, our closing date is scheduled for a particular, whatever the closing date is for this transaction, at the actual escrow company's name, etc. So I can get super custom with this. And whenever I do, and I can put message tags in the subject as well. And whenever I do, and then I go to send it, I'll get a preview first so that it'll show me exactly what that message will look like with the information from the transaction inserted. So we are ready to close on the close date it inserted for me. Our closing is scheduled for, again, the close date at the escrow company name. I've got some contact information down here, etc. And then I can go ahead and either, if I'm good with it, I can add the note. Since I didn't have a recipient, it'll add the note, or edit that if I want to change that. Okay, so again, huge time saver because I can just select this template and all the information will be magically inserted for me, saving me a bunch of typing. All right, now one note, and you can find more information about autofill tags on our help site if you search autofill. But the contact autofill tags do not appear in this drop-down list. Those are more advanced usage of the autofill tags, but again, you will find those on the help site, how to use those. You'll find how to use those on the help site, right? Okay, so those are the autofill tags. And the other thing I want to mention is don't be hesitant to mail messages to yourself. Sometimes you may want to, let's say, generate a list of incomplete tasks or all the completed tasks. An easy way to do that is to go ahead and send a message to yourself with those appended or attached, right? Then you've got a nice clean list in your email box that you can use, or in some cases, maybe you want to forward that list to an outside contact. Because keep in mind, whenever you're sending messages to outside contacts, they're not going to have any access to the data that comes from Pipeline, including appended tasks. So if you append tasks to a message, an external recipient of that message will not see those tasks because they don't have permissions to view tasks within Pipeline. So if you wanted to forward those, send the message to yourself and then forward those to that external recipient, that's perfectly appropriate. Or anything else you wanted to, again, just generate via a message and then look at it that way. Okay? And then the last two things I wanted to mention were, one is that when you are sending messages and attaching documents, you'll notice here that it's sort of accumulating how large those documents are, and that's because once the total file size of all the attachments that you're attaching exceeds 5 megabytes, then it's going to send an email with a link to download all of those documents as a zip file instead of sending the documents themselves. And that ensures that the messages will actually be received, because some email systems will reject messages that have docs that are too large. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And the last thing I wanted to mention is, just as a practice when you're training your agents, to encourage them to reply all when they reply to messages, because messages that come from the system include all the recipients on that message, including that it's coming from you, including whoever is also on that message, whoever you specified here, internal or external recipients. So that way, when they reply all, if they're an internal user and have their own mail drop address, it's going to come back through their mail drop address for this transaction, right? So it nicely stores it, and you've got a nice audit trail of that. But it also comes back to the sender and whoever else is a recipient on that message. So very important to encourage everyone to reply all.